very convoluted. At this time, the Attorney General's office says it cannot share any potential motives, but again, a suspect has been arrested and identified as Hunter Nadeau. He is going to be arraigned in Nashua tomorrow. For now, we're live in Nashua. Alana Flood, WMUR.
We did. We heard about 6. And then that was chaos. It was just, and then the shooter, the active shooter, basically went through the party and went through the kitchen area, and that's what went crazy.
Did he say anything?
Yeah. He said the children are, safe and free Palestine.
We had just gathered around the dance floor. We were about to do a Greek smashing of the plates and throwing the dollar bills. The bride had just come up to me and gave me the plates to say, all right, you give this to my husband. And all of a sudden we heard pop, 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 pop. Heard 5 shots. All of a sudden heard gun, chaos, screaming, and then running. It was just the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life.
We did. We heard about 6. And then that was chaos. It was just, and then the shooter, the active shooter, basically went through the party and went through the kitchen area, and that's what went crazy.
Did he say anything?
Yeah. He said the children are, safe and free Palestine.
I was talking with a gentleman in there who took a chair, hit him over the head. He dropped the gun. The man fled. He went through the reception area into the kitchen, had blood on him. We practice this in school, doing the practice. But when it actually happens, it's like fight or flight. It's just, run.
One adult male is deceased. There are multiple shooting victims. Again, we're trying to iron out that particular detail. Some of the shooting victims went to local fire departments, so that's why we're not sure of that detail just yet. So no suspect has been arrested. A person of interest has been detained pending warrants at this point in time. But there has been no arrests. But we have identified all the people involved in the situation, and there is no threat to the general public at this point in time. So once we get a fuller understanding of what happened, including possible motive, we certainly will share that when we can do so. But again, I think it's too early to talk about what some people might have thought happened and focus on facts and evidence, which we're still gathering.
Well, for any community like ours, this is a big tragedy that there would be such an incident. We are lucky that we have the Nashua Police Department, and I'm confident that they will get to the bottom of this and will bring the appropriate people to justice.
New tonight, Poland and NATO scrambling military jets as Russia launches a massive assault on Ukraine from the air. The Russian strikes hit several locations across Ukraine, including close to Poland's border. Just a day earlier, NATO intercepted 3 Russian fighter jets that flew into Estonia's airspace for 12 minutes. That's according to that country's foreign ministry. Let's get some analysis now from CNN senior military analyst and former NATO Supreme Allied Commander Admiral James Stavridis. He's also a partner at the investment firm, the Carlyle Group. Admiral, always great to see you. The Estonian Prime Minister says his country has requested NATO Article 4 consultations after he described this violation as totally unacceptable. We'd seen an Article 4 just a week or so ago after some drones flew into Polish airspace, and intelligence officials are still trying to determine whether the Kremlin sent those intentionally or not. What would these Article 4 consultations, you think, entail?
First and foremost, it's a total of 19 drones that flew into Poland. Seems highly unlikely to me that's accidental. And certainly manned aircraft breaking NATO borders, as you just reported, is hard to see as anything other than intentional. And I think there are reports also, Boris, of drones, Russian drones over Romania. So that's three examples in the last 5 days. The Article 4 consultations will set up NATO's response to these continuing incursions, and it should. Look, Putin is doing three things. He's trying to test the air defenses, tactically see how capable NATO is of responding. Number two, he's trying to get NATO to say, well, maybe we shouldn't send all that air defense equipment to Ukraine because we got Russia banging on our door. And thirdly, he's trying to create some divisions in the alliance as nations will have different reactions and different levels of response. Generally, the further east you go, the closer you are to Russia, the more likely you are to want those Article 4 consultations to say, let's put up a pretty stern response to Russia that goes beyond just a memo. Let's get some jets in the air and get ready for action.
You wrote in a piece, an op-ed piece for Bloomberg this week, that these brazen incursions demand a NATO response in the skies. What are you hoping to see?
Number one, the alliance increase its air defense posture. They're doing that. It's going to be called Operation Eastern Sentry. Number two, get our air defenses up along NATO borders and in NATO capitals, but also continue to strengthen the Ukrainians. And third, tell Russia the next time one of your jets or drones fly over NATO airspace, we're going to shoot it down. I think this demands a kinetic response. I recognize that has the risk of escalation, but we need to remember who the aggressor is here. It's Moscow, not Brussels.
I also wonder what happens if we don't see that kind of response and we continue sort of plodding along as we have for not just weeks, but months. I mean, there was talk that there would be a bilateral meeting between Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky, and that has not yet come to fruition. But now for months, there's been this promise from the White House that there would be some more forceful response, and we just haven't seen it. So what happens with that one?
We have got to see Washington link its arms with Brussels and do two big things, Boris. One is give the Ukrainians more offensive weapons capability so they can use it, not to go after Russian civilian targets, but rather go after the drone production facilities in Russia. Those are known targets, and we ought to help the Ukrainians go after them. And number two, even more importantly, and this is where Washington and Brussels need to be on the same sheet of music. We need economic sanctions against those nations who are continuing to deal with Vladimir Putin, and we ought to be confiscating Russian assets that are in Western banks that were confiscated 3 years ago when this whole thing started. So we have cards to play. I think Washington, and specifically President Trump, needs to start playing those cards. Last thought, I took heart when President Trump quite correctly said, Putin, you've let us down. And I think it goes beyond letting us down at this point. Putin is condescending to us, pushing us, insulting us, flying jets over NATO countries. It's time to make a stronger response.
Admiral James Stavridis, thanks so much for sharing your point of view.
These boots are made from
Now, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has reportedly asked the Trump administration to pressurize Egypt to scale down a recent military build-up in the Sinai Peninsula. According to reports quoting the US and Israeli officials, the Egyptian military build-up in Sinai has become another significant point of tension between the countries as the war on the Gaza Strip continues. According to reports, Netanyahu presented the Secretary of State Marco Rubio with a list of activities in the Sinai Peninsula during their recent meeting in Jerusalem that he claims are substantial violations by Egypt of its 1979 peace accord with Israel, for which the US serves as the guarantor. The two Israeli officials have cited in the report said that Egypt has been establishing military infrastructure, some of which could be used for offensive purposes in areas where only light weapons are allowed as part of this treaty. The officials have claimed that Egyptians have extended runways at air bases in Sinai so that they could be used by fighter jets and built underground facilities which the Israeli intelligence believes could be used for storing missiles directed at Israel. Now, there is no evidence that the Egyptians are actually storing any missiles in these facilities, the officials say, but they claim that the Egyptians did not provide a reasonable explanation as to their purpose when asked by Israel through diplomatic and military channels. The one Israeli official has said that Israel decided to ask the Trump administration to intervene after direct talks with the Egyptians have shown no progress. The tensions between Israel and Egypt have been steadily increasing since the Netanyahu government was formed in late 2022. The Egyptians have boosted their forces on the border with Gaza and have said that an influx of the Palestinian refugees would be treated as a threat to Egypt's national security.
Saudi Arabia and Pakistan have signed a mutual defense pact just days after Israel's strike on Qatar. The deal was signed by Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif in Riyadh on Wednesday. The agreement says an attack on one country would be considered an aggression against both, and it also aims to enhance their security and develop defense cooperation. The deal comes 2 days after a joint session between the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation was called following Israel's attack on Hamas leaders in Doha last week. Rashid Walijanjoa is a former brigadier in Pakistan's army and director of research at the Islamabad Policy Research Institute. He's joining us from Islamabad. So thank you very much indeed for being with us. What is the motivation for this move? What's behind it?
Thank you very much. The motivation is very clear. The security of GCC countries was imperiled because of the Middle East situation. As you are very well aware, the attack on Hamas leadership in Qatar, that was a flagrant violation of sovereignty of a sovereign country. And the GCC countries were naturally concerned. Saudi Arabia, being one of the strongest protagonists in GCC security equation, was concerned, and Pakistan, being the only nuclear power and a very strong country, military prowess-wise, which had given its very best against aggressor in May. I'm referring to the standoff between India and Pakistan, in which Pakistan bested India, and India had to lose face and recant from its aggressive intent. Saudi Arabia and Pakistan had in the past these defense cooperation arrangements in place, and it has been a traditional relationship. But this Middle East situation acted as a catalyst, and this mutual defense agreement is indicative of that concern. And that whole arrangement that existed in the past has been formalized in the shape of a mutual defense agreement, wherein the attack on one country would be considered an attack on another partner in this defense agreement.
With regard to the events that happened, forgive me for interrupting you, sir, I apologize. I'm just kind of conscious of the time, but with regard to the incident earlier on in the last few months, obviously India would disagree that it was bested by Pakistan, but that is a defense that an argument that India would put forward. Having said that, of course, in real terms, what does this mean for the military presence or the military activity within both countries, and how is India likely to view this joint agreement?
see, Pakistan does not have any aggressive designs against any country, and neither does Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is naturally concerned, being the largest country in the GCC coalition, and any threat to any GCC country naturally bothers Saudi Arabia. So Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, once they collaborate, and Pakistan brings to the table its defense expertise, and it's a multi-domain expertise that Pakistan possesses in land, air, and sea domains, and also the new kind of warfare that we witnessed in Indo-Pak standoff. That is going to be the norm in the future. And we have seen how situation developed vis-a-vis Qatar, where the attacks were launched and a sovereign country's territorial integrity was violated. So naturally, once a strong country like Pakistan collaborates with Saudi Arabia, the security is underwritten, and India naturally would be a little concerned, but then it should act as a sobering thought on its aggressive designs, because essentially this mutual defense agreement is not an aggressive agreement which is aimed at any country. It is merely meant as a defense collaborative arrangement to underwrite the defense of both Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. Pakistan brings to the table.
Rashid Wali Janjur, I am sorry, as I say, I'm kind of conscious of the time that we have with you, but I'm very grateful to you for being with us on Al Jazeera, sir. Thank you very much indeed.
Don't miss out the full picture.
Are you asking President Carter on the ground to get Bagram back?
We're talking now to Afghanistan, and we want it back. If they don't do it, you're going to find out what I'm going to do. We're not going to have Afghanistan events. The most embarrassing event in the history of our country.
the ground to get Dogbram back.
We're talking now to Afghanistan, and we want it back, and we want it back soon, right away. And if they don't do it, you're going to find out what I'm going to do. Next year, we'll be celebrating the 250th anniversary of the American founding, 250 years. It doesn't seem so long when you have William the Conqueror. I said, Windsor Castle, when was it built? Sir, around 990. I'd say 900, let's see, trying to figure that one out. 990. So it's like, it's like really old. I thought the White House was old. So the White House is 1799. Okay, that's pretty old, right? But 990, and the name of the king at the time was William the Conqueror. I said, that's the coolest name I've ever heard. William the Conqueror. And he built this massive castle, and he was known for winning wars. It's very interesting. In fact, I asked King Charles, why do we call you Charles the Conqueror? He said, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. But he's a great guy, and he's doing a great job, an unbelievable job. But the 250th anniversary, we're in it, and it's something we're going to have a year that few people have seen before. With the help of the incredible men and women like those here tonight, and everybody here is excited about it, we're ensuring that when that anniversary does come, our country will be a very strong, proud country. We're not going to have Afghanistan events. The most embarrassing event in the history of our country. Our people will be proud, our communities will be safe, our culture will be thriving, we'll be respected all over the world. We are right now. I said it before, we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. And America will be freer, greater, and more successful than ever before.